Dynamic, articulate, perceptive, courageous, outspoken.
Alright, y'all, welcome back to the dojo. We got another reaction for you. It's not one of the thumbnails on screen. I actually got it in another tab. But let's actually go to the tab so y'all can see what I'm talking about. So it is D.A.R.E, the real reason cops told you about drugs. I saw the thumbnail and I said, what could this possibly mean? Like, I thought what they told us was what they told us. They told us not to use drugs because it's a bad thing to do. It's not good to use drugs, right? But what was the real reason? We don't know. So this 40 minute video, we're going to watch it and see what the real reason was. Because I don't know, so let's check it out.
Anti-drug programs, remember those?
Remember D.A.R.E from school? Y'all remember D.A.R.E?
A cop will come to your school, open up a brief.
Oh, man. Come on, man. Not this. Let's get going.
Briefcase of drugs.
They try to scare kids away from drugs by sending cops into schools.
You guys remember that? You remember how bad this program was?
I remember D.A.R.E.
This is the 2001 Board of Directors for the D.A.R.E program. Before I show you who's on it, I want you to ask yourself, who would you want running D.A.R.E? Maybe social scientists or educators. These people are going to wield the power of the police and shape how millions of children view drugs, crimes, and their own body. All right. Ready? If you said 4 billionaires, 18 multimillionaires, their lawyers, 3 cops, one of whom is a convicted felon, 2 who are involved in corruption scandals, their friends, the NFL player who's at the center of RFK's assassination conspiracy theories, a boxer who reportedly uses steroids, 2 people on the Epstein list, and this guy who, after the FBI did an undercover sting, caught him trying to launder money to cover up a cocaine trafficking operation.
Okay, so basically a whole bunch of people who ain't have no business being a part of a D.A.R.E program. Because they already had their hands dirty. They already was in some shit. So yeah, that's kind of interesting that D.A.R.E had that many uncivilized people on their board of directors. And they were telling kids not to use drugs, but all of them were probably on drugs the whole time. They wanted all the drugs for themselves. That's what it was. They wanted all the drugs for themselves. Yes. Now we know the real reason.
If you said that, then you'd be right.
The D.A.R.E program it's nonsense. I mean, we can be honest about it.
By 1995, D.A.R.E, or Drug Abuse Resistance Education, was in 75% of all American school districts.
Yeah.
They sent thousands of police officers into tens of thousands of elementary schools to teach 10-year-olds to say no to drugs. It was backed by presidents.
People like these D.A.R.E officers are making a real impression.
Celebrities.
Little kids doing drugs.
It even got its own national holiday. 114 million Americans went through D.A.R.E.
I went through it.
That's 34% of the entire population.
What we were talking about.
I went through it, but I can't say I remember too much about it. It was just a way to get out of class for a little bit. That's how we looked at it. It was just a way to get out of class. We remember a little bit about it, but so many of us didn't adhere to the D.A.R.E policy. We end up doing our own thing and living our own lives. We didn't care about D.A.R.E. At least the kids in my school didn't. We didn't care about D.A.R.E. It was just a way to get out of class, without having to listen to the teacher. We all go to the auditorium. You might see some of your friends from other classes and shit like that. Yeah, that's what it was. We didn't care about D.A.R.E.
Are the consequences for using marijuana and not using marijuana.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and think about using. So remember, don't.
And then we found out that it didn't work.
It didn't work. It just made people want to do it.
Cheers. A while back, Mia and I were talking about the D.A.R.E program.
Because genuinely, what the fuck?
Specifically, how bad its failure was. Some studies, like this one, found that D.A.R.E students were more likely than non-D.A.R.E students to experiment with drugs. Whoops.
It just basically told kids about drugs and what they did and what it was like to be high. It just made people curious about it. That's what they did. They just made people curious about drugs and want to experiment with it. All the more reasons why the numbers indicate that. Yes, indeed. Just made people, you just turned people onto the idea of, we wasn't thinking about drugs or nothing like that, but they just turned us onto the idea of it. I don't know how, but all that time we spent learning about drugs, I guess we wanted to know more about it.
How did that happen?
And then Mia had a question.
Everyone knows about D.A.R.E. Everyone knows that it failed. But what I'm missing is, like, did they not test that it worked? Like, the people that made it?
For years, D.A.R.E has been laughed at. Just say
No! To crack!
trendy, goofy teens
Oh my
wear
God.
their t-shirt around to mock its demise. We all came up with our own theories as to why D.A.R.E didn't work. We kind of dismissed it as yet another failed government program. And we never properly investigated the private corporation, a non-profit that often doesn't act like one, that somehow was able to get a dysfunctional drug program and police officers into your school and mine. This video was supposed to be a nostalgic explainer of America's biggest accident, but over the past 4 months, we've been combing through thousands of documents, interviewing cops, historians, journalists, and discovered that behind this program is a buried story, using high-powered lawyers, attacking journalists and researchers when they tried to bring the truth to light. The people at D.A.R.E ruined careers
What?
to protect themselves. I want to show you all of this, because when you look at the people who were behind the program, you start to see what D.A.R.E was really all about.
So this thing ruined careers? What happened? Whose careers did it ruin? Was it the kids that they were talking to? Was it the people who were involved in D.A.R.E? Like, what really happened? Let's find out.
And then 12-year-old kids were like, okay, crack sounds fun.
And then all the kids will be like, now I want drugs.
Clandestine meeting in the Mojave Desert. Illegal guns being sent to the Contras by the CIA.
They did studies that showed that it's actually ineffective and in some cases actually harmful.
The story that's told
It seemed like they were saying, I dare you to use drugs. That's what D.A.R.E was. I dare you to use drugs. That's what it was. They was daring kids to use drugs. That's what they was doing.
is that D.A.R.E had good intentions, that they built a program that they thought would work, and it just didn't. However, I quickly learned there's a lot more to that story. After talking with Mia, I went out and picked up this book. It was written by a professor of history at Ball State University, and it's phenomenal. But there's one part that left me with way more questions than answers. So, I reached out.
Okay, who you reach out to?
In 1983, a group of researchers affiliated with USC just wrapped up a meeting with the Los Angeles School Board.
It's not like they didn't have drug prevention efforts going on. The LA Unified School District actually had been piloting a program called Project SMART.
The researchers in charge of Project SMART were leaving a school board meeting when a man approaches them.
Actually approached the Project SMART researchers.
His name was Daryl Gates.
And Gates is kind of like, well, what if we can take the Project SMART and just have the police, teach it?
Having serious objections to police involvement, they said no. But according to one of Gates's right-hand men,
If you told Gates that he was wrong, he would crush you.
Oh, wow.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Because 114 million kids went through this program. So what do you mean he'll crush you? What do you mean by that?
this idea of
If only they had known. Does not apply.
They fucking knew.
What did they know? What did they know? What are they talking about? I don't know what they're talking about. They just threw us in the middle of it. Like, what are you talking about? What did they know?
So the smart researchers agreed to share their findings. They had been testing 2 different approaches. One of them they found didn't work.
And they said, we found this affective component wasn't working. We've dropped it. We don't use that anymore because we found that it was not having the right effects.
These researchers had found that it made kids more likely to do drugs
Before it launched.
And that's what they told
Oh,
us.
The
wow.
other side of it, what they call peer resistance training, was more effective. What ends up happening, there's no real documentation of why this occurred, is that they kept the affective education component in.
So the part that they knew didn't work.
D.A.R.E kept that piece in.
Okay. So the part that made kids want to experiment and try drugs, they left that into the program. So, okay, I see. And they knew that it wasn't going to work, but they still put it in the program anyway, is what you're telling me. Okay. So D.A.R.E wanted to really mess some kids up, is what you're telling me. That's what I'm figuring out. D.A.R.E really wanted to mess us up, and I think that it did. It did.
What do you take from that? Is this just a PR stunt? Or do you think there might be other stuff going on behind the scenes?
Well, with Gates, there's always other stuff going on.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
I remember that commercial.
Any questions?
Max's book is a phenomenal breakdown of D.A.R.E's expansion, its impacts on culture, policing, the nuances of the hundreds of studies that went into D.A.R.E. But I want to show you a completely different angle.
Yeah. All right. That's right. Oh, no.
Okay, so I talked to this guy. He's a former cop, and he was there. Like, he worked directly under the founder of D.A.R.E. when and where it was created.
Okay.
And I think the problem is that we all just kind of assumed that D.A.R.E.'s failure was a big mistake. Let me just show you what he said.
Why are we doing this program? Because internally, that's what most people thought. So what?
Okay, so this guy, Mike Rothmiller, is a former LAPD officer and also an author. So I guess he's a credible source. He's somebody who was involved in the D.A.R.E program. And he's going to go ahead and, I guess, explain to us why we didn't need D.A.R.E. So let's listen to Mike Rothmiller.
Doing this program, because internally, that's what most people thought. So why are we doing this?
Wait, tell me more about that.
They just thought it was a ridiculous idea. Most people within the departments, everybody said it's not going to work.
What? Okay.
Marijuana. Oh, is it good?
When one of the
What?
smart researchers learned that D.A.R.E was using the effective approach, he reached out to try to help fix it. But D.A.R.E was never interested, speculating that D.A.R.E had other motives. D.A.R.E didn't need fixing. What it needed was money and friends in high places. Though not technically true, the point still stands. Another smart researcher put it bluntly. D.A.R.E had never talked to a scientist until it got in some trouble in 1993.
So they had, so it was just basically opinionated evidence or opinionated stories about the effects of drugs. There was no scientific evidence gone into the program. Like, they didn't use any type of scientific evidence. They just put together a book of facts and said, this is what will happen to you if you use drugs. Yeah, it was doomed to fail from the start. It was doomed to fail from the start. Talking about facts and whatnot. Get your facts right. Dare to get your facts right.
And D.A.R.E was already in 52% of school districts, making the question, if their goal wasn't efficacy, what was it?
It is truly my great pleasure to welcome D.A.R.E to NASDAQ.
Wait a second. They on the stock market? Okay, so D.A.R.E got onto the stock market somehow. publicly traded now. Making money, getting investors. Why is that? So it was all about money, is what you're telling me. It was all about money.
June 4th, 1968. A 15-year-old boy walks into the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. He's there on an assignment for his high school newspaper. U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy is in town, and he's giving a speech at the hotel. The boy's assignment is to take photos of it.
Thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Following the speech, the 15-year-old is following the senator around, snapping photos, when...
Oh, wow.
A former NFL player named Rosie Greer subdued Sirhan Sirhan, who we now know as the assassin of Robert Kennedy. Realizing that Kennedy had just been shot, the high school photographer starts taking photos of everything he can. Then, the LAPD appears. The boy is detained. All his photos, 3 entire rolls of film, are taken from him. 2 months later, the LAPD secretly burns 2,410 photos taken during the investigation. In time,
That's a lot. Hold on. 2,410 photos? They burned that many pictures? Wow. I thought they were supposed to keep the evidence, not burn it. That's interesting. LAPD, huh? All right.
2,410 photos taken during the investigation. In time, they also destroy ceiling panels with bullet holes in them, x-rays of those ceiling panels, and spectrographic analyses of the bullets. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't get it either.
It's all quite suspicious. During this time, a young officer at the LAPD is climbing the ranks. His name is D.A.R.E Gates, and he was just in charge of the intelligence division, but got a promotion to be assistant chief.
He was a narcissist, and his ego was beyond belief.
Gates is about to build an infamous reputation.
A man who Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists have called egomaniacal and paranoid. He is responsible for the creation of the SWAT team.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And commits a move that will change policing forever. A brutal, unprovoked raid on the Black Panthers.
That was him?
Meanwhile, the intelligence division that Gates oversaw breaks off into 2 different categories. The Organized Crime Intelligence Division, or OCID, and the Public Disorder Intelligence Division, or PDID. Almost immediately, the PDID neglects its mission to serve public disorder and focuses on the real enemy. Building dossiers on journalists, labor unions, civil rights groups, public servants.
That's a nice span of time.
And the mayor. Of course.
That looked like it said from 1970 to 1983. That's 13 years. It's a nice little stretch of time.
And the mayor. Of course.
This paranoia that the LAPD had under D.A.R.E Gates extended way beyond the city of LA. He had officers undercover all around the world.
I know this guy sounds like a conspiracy theorist, but he's actually a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist. Check yourself.
Part of what you were revealing, he had like hundreds of people, right?
He had, we don't know how many he had.
We're not talking FBI. This
Talking
is
LAPD.
LAPD, a local municipal police force. Hundreds of agents undercover.
What?
And some of them international.
Hundreds of agents in the unit that supervised the undercover officers.
Soon, the PDID starts to get in trouble. They got caught running covert intelligence missions by sending undercover officers into schools, not to investigate crime, but instead to build political dossiers, signifying that the LAPD and D.A.R.E Gates are becoming increasingly obsessed with power. And it's working. Legions of police officers are starting to look towards D.A.R.E Gates for their next move.
Oh, man. Power hungry.
Watergate. The White House called it a third-rate burglary.
but it escalated into the worst political scandal in American history.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
In the wake of the Watergate scandal, America started to wake up. The government wasn't just watching its enemies anymore. It was watching everyone. The FBI ran COINTELPRO, and the CIA was doing the same.
COINTELPRO? He talking about COINTELPRO in this. I thought this was about D.A.R.E. He going deep in this one. I think COINTELPRO was the surveillance of black people in the hood. That's what COINTELPRO was, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But yeah, bro. They've been watching us since before we was even born, man. They've been watching everything. And now D.A.R.E. was just another rung on the ladder.
Through Operation MH Chaos, local, state, and federal agencies all got in on it. So cities, states, Congress started pushing back, passing laws like this one. These laws say if you're spying on someone, if there's no crime committed, you have to delete the file. Around this same time, they expanded the Freedom of Information Act. And this guy, a congressman from New York, wants answers. He wants to know what really happened to Robert F. Kennedy. So he looks at LA and starts asking questions. A memo makes its way up the chain of command to Daryl Gates, responding point by point to the representative's questions. A key photograph taken during the investigation of the assassination was kept secret by Los Angeles police, who feared it might contradict official statements. The existence of this photograph is believed to be unknown by anyone outside of this department, and that the LAPD deliberately kept this a secret.
Wow. I wonder why.
Soon after, the California Supreme Court comes down on the LAPD, saying you can't send undercover cops into schools if there's no crime. You can't do this. Then, the LA Board of Police Commissioners orders Daryl Gates' precious PDID to destroy 1.9 million dossiers. The world that Gates built of power, secrecy, and surveillance is officially under threat. Gates' chief gets summoned to DC.
Well, it looks like they kept doing it after somebody took his idea and made it a lot worse with social media. Because now they doing that effortlessly. Everything we do now is tracked and traced. So what he was doing, it didn't stop there. It's just the government got a hold of what he did and made it worse. They saw what Facebook and MySpace and Instagram and Twitter was like. They said, yeah, this is exactly what we need to watch what everybody's doing. And they bought those companies out. Now they work for the government. Ain't that something?
The Senate Intelligence Committee wants names. Everyone that's spying for the LAPD. The chief waged a war. His response was a clear declaration that the LAPD was going rogue. It will be a cold day in hell when I provide you with the information you've requested. Back in LA, one of the PDID spies gets a quiet order. We're not going to destroy the records. We want you to hide them. 3 years later, Daryl Gates is promoted to chief, inheriting total control of a rogue, loyal, militarized force with an elite spy network. Daryl Gates is then blessed with a gift, directly from the CIA gods themselves. These new laws didn't say that spying was illegal. They just said that if no crime was committed, you shall maintain no record. Representative Larry McDonald, chair of the right-wing advocacy group known for its conspiracy theories, teams up with his buddies to create the Western Goals Foundation, a domestic intelligence agency.
Those guys came up with the idea of setting up this company to do what the FBI couldn't do.
There is one thing that these new laws cannot regulate. Of course, private businesses. The LAPD funnels its hidden records to the ultra-conservative mini deep state.
He got the files from PDID.
And ramps up.
200 groups were infiltrated over the course of a couple of years.
Spies are sent to the city council, journalists, academics, the ACLU, celebrities, LGBTQ activists, labor unions, and the political left.
And those were being provided to Western goals.
We were told at one time that there were no undercover agents in this chamber, and in fact there was an undercover agent. You've had officers infiltrating peaceful organizations, law-abiding organizations, infiltrating this council chamber, reporting on what councilmen have said, reporting on roll calls of councilmen, and you're telling me that you're proud of the efforts of...
You seem to know a great deal for a statement that says you don't know anything. Now what is it? Do you know everything or you don't know everything?
Yes, Mr. Bernardi, I believe so.
We'd come to work and there'd be a helicopter over our building, right? They'd be monitoring us, coming and going and everything. And, we'd stand there like going like this at the helicopter.
Journalist Dave Lindorf was a target for the PDID.
The helicopter would follow me at night. One time they followed me all the way home. They were shining their light on me.
Dave and 143 others sue D.A.R.E Gates. Backed by the ACLU, things get hot.
What?
Gates strikes back, winning a totally separate case against the ACLU. Undercover cops can operate in schools as long as they're targeting drug dealers.
Hold on, man. I heard what he said about the undercover cops, but what does all of this have to do with D.A.R.E. is what I'm looking at. What does all of this have to do with D.A.R.E.? Because Daryl Gates, he had basically his own intelligence force. Apparently, he had his own intelligence force. He had police that worked for him directly, internationally, and all types of stuff. So what was D.A.R.E. supposed to do? This is what don't make sense to me. It's not adding up for me. I'm not getting it. But I'm gonna keep watching.
ACLU plans to appeal. All they have to do is prove one thing, that Gates will abuse that power. So the ACLU focuses their attention on the PDID case. The city attorney representing Gates opens an unlocked file cabinet. He runs to the press, calling PDID a clandestine band of zealots who abuse every single moral and ethical precept. The judge says they're going to order the police to release the files. But before they do, the news breaks. Gates has been funneling intelligence to Western goals. It's fully public.
Okay.
People are seeing this, they're hearing this. It is a huge deal. This is not good for Gates.
They weren't overly concerned until the ACLU got in the PDID.
The ACLU starts closing in.
We started what's called the Purge, destroying tens of thousands of documents. We had 2 commercial shredders. We burned 2 of them up. They knew they were going to lose this lawsuit.
Gates runs to the school board and pitches an idea. Drug education, taught by police, not for one class, but have them stay there.
When it came to spying, he had no rules.
School district is like, you are nuts. A program cannot be developed overnight. Gates approaches smart researchers saying, use my cops for your program. They say, no.
They would send their files on leftist groups to Western goals, and then Western goals would make them accessible to the FBI.
Western goals gets added as a defendant right as soon as they entered the Iran-Contra funding network by funding rebels in Nicaragua with the CIA. The founder of Western goals gets on a plane to South Korea. Soviet fighters approach, shoot the plane down. He dies. The ACLU goes on the offense. The CIA notices that all of this is happening. LAPD, MH Chaos type activities, ACLU legal action. The CIA sends 2 agents to LA, and Gates sends 10 cops to 50 elementary schools. The official launch of D.A.R.E.
And that's when the city settled.
He says there were no limits to what Gates would do to feed his insatiable need for secret information. Bro, that's crazy. This man was on a power trip to know what everybody was doing in every household, in every place of business, in every precinct. This man just had connections to secret information all over the world, and he was funneling it to Western goals. Western goals, whatever whatever that organization was, they was putting all the information to Western goals. And then the Western goals will make it accessible to the FBI. Do you see that dynamic? This man had all the information. He had all the information, and they wanted the information from him, and he wasn't going to provide it. Yo, that's crazy, man. This man just... I don't even know how you can put it. This man just took over. That's what he did. He took over with information. That's crazy.
Daryl Gates loved spying, but so does the internet, which is why I use Surfshark, the sponsor of this video. With Surfshark,
okay, we can skip past
also
Surfshark.
productivity, it's you, and to see if anybody.
Yeah, we can skip past
all you have
this.
to TPL me back here. Back to it.
Yo, Drew, I got that stuff I was telling you about.
What? Power Rangers?
Sometimes the best answer is the simplest way. You have the power. Just say no to drugs.
Years passed by, D.A.R.E slowly grew, but there was one problem. Money. Police can't take money from any person who is engaged in business for gain. But if those same officers go out and start a private nonprofit, then now it's not the LAPD asking, it's a private charity. Then that private nonprofit can take the money and pass it off to the police department. Totally passes the sniff test. Like, it's totally above board. Super happy that things work this way. God. Today, this is actually totally normal. They're called police foundations. And if you've never heard of it, according to policefoundations.org, that's the point. These police foundations can't legally imply that any donor will be able to influence official actions or get anything in return. But there's low transparency. Critics call these dark money slush funds.
Oh, wow.
The LAPD creates one called the CPAC, which...
So the police, they do underhanded methods of getting money and acquiring funds. Interesting. Very, very interesting. See, because they know the law, they know how to work around the law. They know how to break the law, rather. And that's exactly what they do. I learned something today. They legally break the law. Yep. That's what they do.
Turns into D.A.R.E California, and then, in turn, D.A.R.E America. They throw some fundraisers inviting who critics would call dark money. They throw this fundraiser gala for D.A.R.E. The dinner chair of the gala, which, like, whatever, I don't fucking know what that means, is a luxury goods and jewelry mogul. And he lands a seat on D.A.R.E America's board of directors. A banker shows up, a developer shows up, they make the board too, an attorney attends, her son is suddenly on the board. The whole event, netting D.A.R.E more than $760,000, is paid for by a banker and Michael Milken, the man who would later get indicted for stock manipulation, insider trading, tax evasion, and become known as the Junk Bond King.
I don't know who this Michael Milkman is. I have no idea. Never heard of this guy before, but he just introduced him. So if you were paying attention, you heard him, but if not, you can take it back if you like to. I don't really care. I'm just listening to the... I'm trying to figure out where D.A.R.E comes into all of this. It just seems like Daryl Gates is the main guy of the story, Daryl Gates, and what his plan was, his plan for total domination.
Michael Milken, friend of D.A.R.E, I guess.
Milken.
That's crazy. How did that happen? How do they know each other? This is a duck. You can tell because it walks like one and it talks like one. In all my life, I've learned that if something says that it's one thing, but then it acts a different way, you should ask questions. A good one to start with is, how is it walking and how is it talking? D.A.R.E's first year was a trial run. Year 2, oops, cop shoots a revolver in a classroom.
What? A cop shot a revolver in a classroom because of on a D.A.R.E program. Cops do not need to be in schools, man. Maybe nowadays they do because of how crazy it's gotten. But man, cops ain't need to be in those schools, man. Hell no. That's just make all the kids feel uneasy, man. That's just ugh. There's just too much in schools, man.
3 though, something different happens.
Oh, kids turning in their parents for drug use.
Even though D.A.R.E is still small, 6 kids turn their parents in a 3-month period. From the early days, D.A.R.E has to come up with this policy, telling their officers, you're not here to gather intelligence. You're here as a teacher. D.A.R.E's training documents are bathed in this language. Gain their trust. Gain their trust. And God forbid if a child does confide in you, just like coincidentally, not because you gain their trust or anything, get another officer and let them take care of it. We can't have...
That's crazy. Kids was snitching on their parents when D.A.R.E came to school. Kids was probably so scared. They was like, yeah, my parents do drugs. My dad smokes marijuana all the time. Your dad smokes marijuana, Billy? Yes, he smokes marijuana. I was afraid, so I figured I'd just tell the cops. Bro, D.A.R.E was just a mistake, bro. The whole thing was just a mistake. The whole thing was a mistake, bro. Got kids snitching on their parents. Bro, that's messed up. Oh my God. That is so messed up.
Have you losing the kids' trust? Because I guess that's important for drug education.
Perhaps unintended consequences, perhaps intended.
Intended or unintended?
Yo got a Magnavox.
The new D.A.R.E elementary curriculum challenges students by having them participate in active learning. The officer guides and directs students' progress and their understanding.
I'm going to ask for a student to help me by decorating the D.A.R.E box, and that'll be a place for all of you to drop questions in. But also that might be a place where you may want to tell me something in confidentiality, and if you do, make sure that you make note of it in that box. Please make note that that's in there, or that you don't want anyone to hear it, that you want it to be private. When I mention the term confidentiality, what that means is it's something between you and I. It's private.
If a literal confession box isn't damning, I don't know what is. Would you say that?
Damn, so they made a confessional box for the kids to come and tell them whatever they maybe have been going on, dealing with at home, or what their parents do in their free time, like gathering all this information on random people who sending their kids to school. Bro, it's even worse now, because now we freely put that information online for anybody to look up. It's even worse now, bro. You thought Daryl Gates was bad? Look at Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, Twitter. All your information on there, man. All your information. All your information is there for them to pull at any given time if they want to. Information is a motherfucker, man. And they sell your information online every single day. Information, man. Information.
That it's in line with what you know about Daryl Gates to start a program that inspired kids to act as informants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have no doubt that it occurred to him that this is a possibility.
As D.A.R.E grew, this became a huge problem. More and more kids started turning their parents in. Parents compared D.A.R.E to the late Weimar Republic. If D.A.R.E was good at one thing, it was not drug education. It was, as Wikipedia says, using children as informants.
The idea that you're going to use kids to rat out on their parents, the bottom of the barrel. If they use that to lock the dad up, the kid's going to find out about it someday that it was because of what they did, and they're going to live with that guilt.
It's all about
A
surveillance.
3-year independent study into D.A.R.E.
It was
is
all
commissioned by the Department.
It was all about surveillance. Now we know what D.A.R.E. was really about. They was really just planting officers in high schools to gain information on any child and their parents who was willing to divulge the information to the cops. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. After all these years, we finally know what it was about. Man, that's crazy. Establish their trust. Like, what kind of nonsense, man? That's crazy. But that's how cops get down. Now you know.
Of Justice, the same branch that funds D.A.R.E. Over the years, the DOJ approves of the independent agency's approach. Receiving feedback and notes, everything looks good. But when the study was ready and the findings were that D.A.R.E. didn't work, the Department of Justice refused to publish it. Totally confused, the researchers go to the American Journal of Public Health, one of the most respected academic journals in its field. This study received exceptionally good peer reviews, so the American Journal of Public Health goes to publish it. When the phone rings, it's D.A.R.E. They said that D.A.R.E. tried to intimidate them, to interfere, and prevent the public from knowing that D.A.R.E. doesn't work.
What?
When a major television network was working on a story about D.A.R.E., the producer said they worked very hard to get our story suppressed. When a reporter questioned the effectiveness of the program in USA Today, he received letters from classrooms all over the country, coordinated. They were all addressed, "Dear D.A.R.E. Basher." D.A.R.E. didn't stumble into its failure, it protected it.
Wow.
But to D.A.R.E., it doesn't matter, because the money starts flowing.
Look at that.
Americans, this war is not yet won.
Reagan accelerates the war on drugs,
and our nation is united.
The war on drugs. Oh man, y'all remember that? Y'all remember a failure that was? The war on drugs. We're still combating the war on drugs today. People still getting locked up for small uses, small personal use paraphernalia and stuff like that. Weed and all types of stuff is still illegal for the majority of states. It's only a couple places in states that legalized it. War on drugs never worked, never did work, never was going to work. It was just a way to incarcerate people. That's what it was. It was just a way to incarcerate more people and get more taxpaying money to the precincts. That's what it was about. The war on drugs. What a joke.
Against this scourge as never before.
The First Lady attends D.A.R.E. fundraisers. Walt Disney's daughter gives an extraordinarily generous donation, landing a spot on the board of directors. The federal government says it'll pass a bill to fund anti-drug programs. Gates perks up and says success is when D.A.R.E. is in every classroom across America. D.A.R.E. sends a lobbyist to D.C. That bill then gets amended, specifically putting money aside for programs that are taught by uniformed law enforcement officials. D.A.R.E. uses government money to create regional training centers and develops a decentralized business model. Board of directors, executives, employees, training centers, then the cops. But if they hire cops, they're no longer cops. So they help police departments set up private nonprofits themselves, dedicating much of the officers' training to teaching them how to raise money. They then coach those officers to expand their program and bring on more officers, creating a really unique triangle shape.
A really big pyramid scheme. Just a really big pyramid scheme to funnel money. A really big pyramid scheme to funnel money through D.A.R.E. into the pockets of the people who orchestrated the whole thing. It's just a big money grab and surveillance and the buying and selling of information. I see it now. That's crazy. Crazy what people will do for money and information.
Like a multi-level marketing scheme.
At the time, Herbalife and MLM was the fastest growing company in America. Perhaps D.A.R.E. took some inspiration, but I don't know. It's not like Herbalife's founder and executive vice president was on the board of directors. They even donated $36,000 to D.A.R.E, specifically designated for rent. They start taking donations from corporations. A famous one is KFC, right there. Look at that logo. It doesn't say D.A.R.E.
What?
D.A.R.E. America.
You know, if I were to have gone back to write this book again,
KFC?
you know, now, like trying to figure out, go into like corporate archives to find out, like, why are they all sponsoring D.A.R.E?
Where would be a good place to find those that are potentially getting kickbacks? Officially, there's no kickbacks from these donors. There can't be. But in late 1989, Deputy Chief Glenn Levant, who helped run the D.A.R.E. program at LAPD, ordered his elite detectives to spend 2 days scouting out a hotel outside of city limits. They were there to catch a thief, which is odd because they were outside of city limits. They're outside of their jurisdiction. Those cops should not have been there. It was revealed that the owner of the hotel was involved with the D.A.R.E. program board, meaning the police were doing odd things that they usually would not be doing.
The police were conducting duty outside of their jurisdiction and possibly while they were off duty. Ooh, that's a recipe for disaster. How did this one turn out? How did this one turn out?
Things that benefited members of D.A.R.E.'s board.
The case that shocked the world, and now it has exploded into a city out of control.
A few years later, several police officers were caught on camera in a racially charged attack, beating a man
Rodney
named Rodney King.
Oh my God.
Terrible situation all night long.
And L.A. burned.
Fires, looting, gunshots, and now the National Guard may be ready to move in.
Gates was forced to resign. Levant shot up. His ambition kicked in. It was his time to be chief. But he didn't get the job. He left the force. The man who sent cops outside of city limits and reportedly ran the PDID's vastly more powerful sibling.
We were a mini CIA for the chief of police, and we worked some joint operations with the CIA.
Glenn Levant would leave the Los Angeles Police Department to take over D.A.R.E. America.
Glenn Levant is a tyrant and he's vindictive as hell. He does not hesitate to abuse his power to do favors for people. High-ranking
This is a timeline showing D.A.R.E.'s board of directors over time, with an alleged reputation of giving kickbacks to those that are affiliated with D.A.R.E.'s board.
I see a lot of things a lot of tabs that say money, 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 money. Some say celebrity, some say legal, some say unknown. But I see a lot of them tabs say money. I don't know if y'all seeing what I'm seeing. Look at this. Just look at money, 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 money.
With an alleged reputation of giving
money is the most. I
with
see
D.A.R.E.'s
money more
board.
than anything
These
else
are
on
the
here.
people that Glenn Levant and D.A.R.E. America reported to. You have billionaires and millionaires, high-powered lawyers, government officials or people with connections, high-powered police and their friends, media personalities, and some old friends. The football player that subdued RFK's killer, Bill Clinton's close confidant, a former congressman who was disgraced by financial crimes, who was assisted in those crimes by D.A.R.E.'s friend, the junk bond king. Founders and CEOs of Hollywood's largest studios and developers, Michael Jackson, an infomercial king who will soon launder cocaine money. The lawyer who defended the city of LA in a lawsuit filed by the 15-year-old boy whose photos of RFK's assassination were stolen from him. But soon, trouble hits.
The largest criminal action against a Wall Street figure ever. Federal prosecutors indicted one of the richest and best-known Wall Street figures in America. His name was Michael Milken. Do you remember the movie Wall Street? Michael Douglas, the lead character in Wall Street, Greed is Good. That was based on Michael Milken.
Oh, wow.
D.A.R.E., Michael Milken, is indicted in a federal grand jury for financial crimes. Many of the board's most powerful members directly benefited from his financing. Like this guy, billionaire Ron Burkle, connected to Harvey Weinstein, business partners with Sean Diddy Combs, close friends,
Oh, boy.
and donor to Bill Clinton, and his name appears on a list, officially made by a man who never had any clients. According to the data available to us, Ron Burkle is the longest running director on the board. The junk bond king is sentenced to 10 years in prison. He only served 22 months, and then the junk bond king was released. But he had to do a lot of community service hours, which he went to D.A.R.E for. You can see him here talking to board member Michael Jackson at a gala. And as D.A.R.E starts to fail, the board will also fall apart. Michael Jackson goes to criminal trial. Michael Ovitz gets fired from his executive role at Disney. D.A.R.E has a tense meeting with Congress and subsequently loses access to federal funding. Herbalife's founder suddenly dies. Close friends Michael Ovitz and Ron Burkle have a falling out, and several members on the board have either hired or are somehow connected to a private investigator named Anthony Pellicano. They call him the Sin Eater. The convicted felon was hired by the Clintons to discredit Monica Lewinsky and Jennifer Flowers. He was hired by Michael Jackson to investigate the children accusing him. Hired by Ovitz to spy on Burkle, he was a mob man who somehow got access to LAPD police files to aid in his crimes.
Wow.
Anyways,
he had information.
Those are the guys that out of the goodness of their...
That's how a mobster gets involved in the police. They got information to blackmail probably plenty of people. And they got connections. They can ruin your career or ruin your image just like that. Assassinate your character. And that's how they got access to all that different things. Because they probably got powerful people by the balls. It's like, if I release this information, you're done. You're done. So you got to do what I say. It's that type of deal, it seemed like. But yeah, let's keep listening. We almost done.
Want to help your kids. So what was D.A.R.E really all about? We can't say for sure, but we can hold it up to the duck test. Beginning in the 1990s, the United Kingdom taught the D.A.R.E curricula, but over time, they modified the curricula and strayed from only using police officers. They still used cops. They just also used professionals and educators. But D.A.R.E sent them a cease and desist, demanding that they stop using the D.A.R.E trademark. Coincidentally, after D.A.R.E UK made this change, early studies found an overall positive change in results. So while the official story is that Daryl Gates created D.A.R.E because he wasn't happy with the results of the undercover drug bust in schools, I believe that the Detroit News said it best. In 1983, then Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates wanted to get police officers into schools. What resulted was a strange brew of politics, police, and education researchers, and explains D.A.R.E's long history of clashing with nearly everyone who tried to evaluate it. So if you were to ask me, D.A.R.E walks like an MLM and talks like a hustle. After years of attacking anyone that criticized their program, D.A.R.E finally admitted it here on their website.
It didn't work.
Scientists have repeatedly shown that the program did not work.
No.
Seemingly in hopes to regain access to federal funding, D.A.R.E has released a new program. Then this one works.
Today,
Oh, really?
Jeff Sessions attended a gathering of D.A.R.E.
Over the past 3 years, D.A.R.E has had record-breaking expansion, training thousands of new cops. D.A.R.E is back.
The first
Oh,
D.A.R.E
really?
graduation in 2 decades.
There's so much interest in D.A.R.E returning.
Revamping the D.A.R.E program, and schools are on board.
And it does actually seem like D.A.R.E's new program is promising. But the irony of it all is that D.A.R.E's new program was evaluated by a man named William B. Hansen, a scientific prevention strategist, who back in the day worked with the Los Angeles Unified School District to develop a program called Project SMART.
What's that gonna be about? Project Smart.
Thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring a portion of this video, and thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing. Also, should I use this? I'll tell you what, here we go.
Kentucky
Every
Fried
Wednesday
Chicken.
on the Discord, we have a GeoGuessr challenge. 1 month.
Okay. The video is basically done. He's just promoting all the other things on his channel. This was actually a pretty good video. It's got 1.9 million views, and he uploaded it like 2 weeks ago. So I say it's doing pretty good. I did not know that D.A.R.E was all about surveillance and gaining information on people. The average person. Using kids to tell on their parents. Like, we at Auschwitz or something. Like, yo, it's crazy. It's crazy how far the legal system, cops, and all these other corporations and entities will go to get information, bro. They would stop at nothing to get the information they wanted about regular, average, everyday people. And probably a couple kids got their parents locked up, man. It was just a mess. And I did not know D.A.R.E was that deep. Had no idea. I learned something new today. Hope you did too. And with that being said, Professor Hawk signing out. Hawk Sensei bids you adieu. Hope you enjoyed this reaction, guys. Toodaloo.